A very good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Brief. It's the weekend edition of the program. As always, we're right here to do what we know how to do best, serving you with all the information and as much as possible, and making sure you enjoy your morning. I'm Jeffrey Uzanga, as always. I'm with my people.
Thank God it's Friday. Good morning.
My people.
Welcome to the perfect morning starter. This perfect morning, I am Bukola Koka.
We chose to see a perfect scenario in spite of all of the imperfections. And we hope you join us at least. I'm Kayode Okikulu. You're welcome to the show.
So, guys, what have you been tracking?
Guys, you go first today.
Well, what else are we tracking apart from what is happening in Nigeria? That's our job, actually, to track as many things as possible when it comes to there's literally no way you turn to, you not see the reverse conversation, and Kayode says it's almost exhausting. You want to see how it comes to an end. But I was just processing what has played out in the last few days, and I feel that before the president was presented, 3 decisions to make: economic decision, maybe a maxed political decision, as well as a legal decision. I still stand that the president has no provision in the Constitution that gives him the right to suspend the governor. Declaration of a state of emergency, I believe that when you look at the economic decision, Trans-Niger Pipeline, which carries our crude to a major export terminal, is quite scary. Any president will panic to that effect. To that extent, it's also not difficult. It's almost impossible to argue with him to declare a state of emergency to protect those facilities, given where we are as an economy. But on the legal end, for me, even the AGF did not make any legal sense to justify the decision of the president to include suspension of governor, deputy, and the House of Assembly. The political permutation, I'll leave that to politicians. If you guys have noticed, it went around partisan line. The South-South governors have said, no, we don't agree. The APC governors in the South-South have said, no, we agree. And so it's been partisan. And then, of course, the opposition parties, they're against the president. You don't expect, of course, whatever it is that will make the leadership look bad is what opposition will thrive on, because they also want power. So I'm not interested in their politics. I'm merely interested in what the law says. And if you look through the law, nothing allows the president to suspend a governor, members of the House of Assembly, or the deputy. But be that as it may, I was expecting the House of Assembly, the National Assembly, to be as divisive as possible. I was in shock, literally in shock. Yesterday, guys, 243 persons were in plenary, according to Tajuddin Abbas, the Honorable Speaker, and there was a unanimous overwhelming yes. We don't know how many were in the Senate. So it's confusing to me, with the greatest respect to members of the National Assembly, some I know personally, whom I will always respect, to see that an issue that is as divisive as the suspension of a fundamental constitutional structure like the legislature and the executive, that has divided constituents for and against, has an overwhelming yes to that effect. So my question is, are they really representing the constituent? Because you're supposed to be a reflection of the constituent. So I'm sorry to the people I know personally and all of that. This is why when people don't take the National Assembly seriously, I asked Senator Nwebonyi, they call you rubber stamp because of some of these things, and he keeps arguing and saying, no, it's not true. So these are the moments. Given what has played out with the Natasha Akpoti scenario, this was a moment for them to redeem themselves as far as this is concerned. Of course, we know the president has a lot of information that would have passed on to them, but we expected more divisive National Assembly, given how divisive the thing is in the society. But I was disappointed at the end of the day. But it's what it is.
You expected some more, divisions in terms of we disagree rather than the overwhelming yes.
Exactly. At the end of the day, majority will always have their way, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying if you needed a quorum of 240, and you had 243, and everybody said, yes, let's go with it. That is scary. Well, that is worrying. That is disturbing.
For me, Jeffrey, I'm not surprised, and I don't have as much expectations as you do from the National Assembly.
I'm
just curious because, you know, the Senate President is a lawyer, the Senate leader is a lawyer. besides the fact that we have many lawyers, as our representatives at the National Assembly, they are our elected legislators and they know the law. And, you can't but help go back to the Constitution when, testy situations like this arise. And Section 2 of the 305 that has become the subject of national discourse in the last couple of days says that the President shall immediately after the publication transmit copies of the official Gazette of the Government of the Federation containing the proclamation, including the details of the emergency, to the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, each of whom shall forthwith convene or arrange for a meeting of the House of which is President or Speaker. And it continues. So it doesn't say that the President shall take any other action that would, enforce the state of emergency prior to the publishing of the Gazette and informing the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And what we would see, at the express approval yesterday is the hollowed voice of the opposition. And we've known from precedent time and again that the National Assembly is intolerant of opposition. There's the Ndume case, there's the Abdul Ningi case, and in recent times, the Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan case. And perhaps we should also look at what is seemingly the rules of the Senate, as was quoted by the senator from Bayelsa State yesterday, that the Senate President shall brief the House on the circumstances surrounding the declaration of emergency behind closed doors. Now, for an issue that is as important, that is as unsettling as a declaration of a state of emergency in River State, I wonder if such issues should be deliberated upon behind closed doors. Because of the way the people of River State are feeling at this particular point in time, because of the demand of accountability, and particularly because of the issue that has brought us here, being shrouded in secrecy.
Right.
Nobody knows, even till now, what happens to be the problem between the governor and his political godfather. So we require more democratic rules and principles guiding deliberations at the National Assembly.
By the way, this forms a major part of our show this morning, so not to worry. This is just some sort of appetizer. And I wish I could sing that song, Joy is Coming, right now, because it looks like there's been so much of rancor, so much of division. I mean, too much, actually, for a nation like ours. I'm not sure we need all of that. But there's something to look forward to today, which is a match between Nigeria and Rwanda. So for me, I choose to stay in that space. And I'm telling myself joy is coming. But not to worry. We're going to tackle all of those issues. And as you'd expect, the approval of a state of emergency in River State by the National Assembly has sparked debate in all quarters. And that's where we're starting off on the show this morning, where we started off already. We're going to be taking a hard look at what this means for our democracy and whether or not it aligns with the rule of law. Professor Benjamin Okaba and Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka will be joining us to dissect the issues.
And away from the legalese this morning, we'll be checking on the weather. Of course, how to mitigate flood disasters. The rainy season draws near, and a number of Ogun State residents, particularly at this time of the year, will be in dread of potential floods. So we'll be speaking with the State Commissioner for Environment to seek to know what the government is doing differently this year to fix the issues once and for all.
And of course, Kaida said the Super Eagles of Nigeria against the guys from Rwanda will be locking hands this evening, and we'll get to see how this plays out. There's a lot of emotional roller coaster in the country. We hope they can lift our spirit with a victory at least. Rwanda is ahead with about 7 points in the group. We are lower in the group. So, hey, let's see whether these guys will bring joy. Is joy coming? We
Amen.
hope so.
There you have it. Nigerians love their football and the Super Eagles. We're staying in East Africa, actually, because, yes, the Super Eagles will be playing in Rwanda today. So we thought, well, let's just talk to someone from there, Crystal Asige, a senator championing disability rights and a 2024 Time 100 Next honoree. Yes, so we're taking double from East Africa today.
And of course, faith, music, and passion. Pamela Scott will be joining us. She's been here before to serenade us and walk us yet again. That interesting story she told us about her father being a disc jockey and now a professor. Well, if you want to enjoy some cool music on a Friday morning, yes, I miss that element of the show. We need to bring it back a lot more. Music and, is it choreography? No, not choreography. What's the other one? Exercise. Okay, so we'll take your thoughts as well on X. CTV Morning Bridge with a hashtag is how you get to us. You also send us a message via our email address that will scroll on your screen, including our WhatsApp number. Whenever it's up and running, you can send your messages and your videos. But hey, it's a packed show, so it's going to be a lot pacey. You need to keep pace with us. That's our responsibility, to bring you all angles of what is going on in the politics within and outside the country. But we'll take just a moment and look at the papers. The papers, where do we start from, guys?
Let's start from Bukola.
The Guardian.
There you go.
And it's an interesting picture on the front page of The Guardian this morning that everyone, particularly the traditional institutions, should watch out for and reflect on. Look at the headline: Thrones for Hire. How Politics, Corrupt Process Taint Traditional Institution, Royal Stools. And you see there the throne, a short lineup of traditional rulers, and behind the throne you see cash in exchange. So it will require some form of answers from our traditional rulers on whether or not this is the case, or this is a wrong reflection of what is really happening. So it's an interesting one. Perhaps you know, a departure from what seems to be the talking point across the nation, which would be, you know, rivers quaking as a result of declaration of a state of emergency. But The Guardian does not lose sight of that. Look at the bottom part, just right under the big story there. NAS faces backlash over state of emergency approval. Fubara denies culpability. And right beside that, you find 2027 Ganduje, a minister dismiss, that would be Atiku Obi El Rufai coalition on as failed gang up. So would that be the case? Is it a non-issue as far as 2027 is concerned? And you know, 2027 also has been described as a huge factor that is coloring the Rivers political crisis as well. Okay. So interesting stories from the front page of The Guardian this morning.
Go to the Nigerian Tribune. Rivers emergency rule after NAS approval. Ibas assumes duty, vows to restore law and order. He gave his broadcast yesterday, about 10 minutes long. You could go listen to some of the things he said, literally calling for collaboration, but was also firm in fighting anybody who wants to foment trouble. Says his mission requires collective support from all stakeholders. Without nay votes, reps, senators approve president's request. Asks administrator to report to NAS, not FEC. Senate wants eminent persons to resolve Wike Fubara dispute. Tinubu salutes National Assembly. South Governors Forum says declaration did not meet constitutional provisions. So this is where the state is at the moment as far as this is concerned. And we hope, you know, I was listening to his broadcast yesterday when Abbas said, look, there's an easy calm. He knows that the work on his hand is not going to be solved by might, but the presence of might will at least deter a few people from misbehaving, because that's what a state of emergency is. So as far as this is concerned, let's see how it plays out. But I believe that a political resolution will give permanent, even long-lasting peace. The court have done theirs. It did not solve the problem. Military might or state of emergency, I can guarantee you, will not solve it. Eventually, it's a political resolution from all warring factions.
Continually hopeful, as the Senate has also constituted a committee to reconcile the warring factions.
And they can, it may be less than 6 months. In the law, it says so, 305 says. And they've also put that as part of the amendment to the declaration of emergency. Yeah, to approve the emergency declaration, that whenever there's a restoration of peace, the president can come back and just mute this as possible. What we disagree with is suspending democratic structure on that. Nah. Well, they've approved. There's nothing anybody can do. All you can do if you disagree is to talk, and that's what we're talking.
Or just go to court. That's yeah, you can seek redress in court, and we'll wait to see how that plays out. By the way, there's that picture, the aftermath of the explosion, the call it fire, explosion, accident in Abuja, and you can see that cylinder, the CNG cylinder. I know the presidential leader put up a picture saying that, well, it's not CNG, this didn't explode. But the question is, where are the other cylinders? Because you know the trucks carry more than one cylinder of CNG. Some have 6, some even have up to 8. And some said they saw the cylinder flying across their roof. So the president has called for investigation. Yeah, and we'll wait to find out how that comes up. But take a look at the Blueprint newspaper. Blueprint is next, and Blueprint sort of focuses, at least the big story, is different from what you find around. It's about investment from India. You see 15 or $14 billion investment from India. Others, Tinubu has made life easier for Nigeria. That's coming from the federal government. So there was that ministerial address yesterday, and different ministers spoke about you know, the performance of the government. The Minister of Interior talked about 200,000 backlogs of passport application cleared. Foreign Minister says country's image now redeemed abroad. The Minister of Information said administration encouraging free speech and healthy opposition. So those are the highlights from the ministerial briefing, and it's no surprise that that's how the Blueprint leads this morning. So there you have it. The big stories on the front page. You can almost guess how this will shape the conversation today. But away from the front pages of the dailies this morning, let's go over to what you have been saying about the big stories, guys. I think a natural place to start from is that address, excerpts from what the sole administrator in River State had to say in the aftermath of him taking office. So I'd like to listen to Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, retired now, the sole administrator of River State, who was welcomed with a guard of honor as he arrived in Port Harcourt. Yes, we'll show you that in a moment. But let's first touch base with what happened in the National Assembly. So just basically tell you that story from different angles. And yes, the House of Reps passed or approved that declaration of state of emergency without a head count. Without counting who voted yes or no. It was just a voice vote, and they used the register according to the speaker. And that got a lot of people talking, naturally. So Shamil is first, saying this is another confirmation that the National Assembly, is the most submissive in history. That's how this user captions it. And
that's strong.
Yeah, most submissive in history. It has shown that it cannot stand up to the president to defend or in defense of the people's will.
I also saw somebody sent me a message yesterday. I don't totally agree, but you can't blame that disposition. Said that the National Assembly can give the president a third term. Is how people feel. We try to reel out these things so that they will hear. And when we interview them, we reel out these things so that they will also respond. Maybe we don't know what's going on in there. They can give us answers. I said, I'm not happy with the decision. They should allow Fubara to face the music from the House of Assembly. Nobody wants chaos, please. At the end of the day, whatever is being done, whether constitutionally or unconstitutionally, I think everybody just wants peace. But what we are saying is that the Constitution has to be followed in all scenarios to resolve every problem, no matter what. The Constitution, because else everybody can wake up and interpret anything and do what it is they want to do. But I'm sure for me, as far as that economic decision is concerned, it's not difficult to agree with the president to declare a state of emergency. That pipeline is an important pipeline. But the removal of institutional structure is the problem.
Well, right, the Constitution is clear, Jeffrey. When there is the nation is at war or there is imminent war, you know, the vandalism of pipeline does not suggest war. As far as what the Constitution.
I feel that the president panicked, and I can understand why he panicked. Trans-Niger pipeline, it carries crude to our major export terminal. It's just like blowing up Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. You know what that will do to the economy of Nigeria?
Well, they put it at, I think, $36 million daily.
Yeah, so to the extent of being preventative for further damage, it's difficult not to agree that something has to be done, literally militarizing that space. What is the argument I feel in this whole picture is removing democratically elected officials. That is the debate. That is the bigger debate, which there's no provision in the Constitution. So if you listen to the AGF, it did not have a provision in the Constitution to rely on. So there were nuances, there were logic, there were analogies, but so he can only say you had to put it in abeyance in an extraordinary situation. So it's his own interpretation.
Well, there have been other breaches of, pipelines in recent times in River State. And if we considered what we've been losing to crude oil theft, in the last couple of years, you realize that we need to treat, such breaches with this same urgency that the president has treated the breach of the transnational pipeline So it just goes to show how there are huge political undertones coloring what is happening in River State. In the last couple of months, there have been pipeline breaches in River State as well. But was this the kind of response?
So it was left to the National Assembly to have made that decision. Which is why I was concerned that there was no strong vocal opposition to that. Even if there are people that as soon as that thing happened in River State, they were on TV shouting, but where were they? So at least, anyway.
Let's go over now to the House of Representatives approving the declaration. Okay, we've covered that. The Senate as well approving the state of emergency declared by Mr. President in 2025 as amended. And the first user this morning is Olufemi 2015, who says Kano and Osun states should be careful. If not, same thing will happen to them. Really? Maybe we should be paying attention to those states as well.
No, I think that was one of the remarks made by the AGF I don't think he thought through it with the greatest sense of respect when he said this is a warning to deterrent. In fact, he has to go to advise the president to be stiffer. You can't do that. This is a democracy. You have to follow the law.
Certainly. The next user, Tobena Fesinachi, says voice vote and open ballot should be abolished in all legislative chambers across Nigeria. If they should exist at all, they should be restricted to the issues of internal regulation of the respective chambers. So it looked like everybody just hid behind everybody under the same cover. I just voted, so you can't blame one person. Did you see me? We all voted, right?
You raise that, but if it's in the US, you will stand up and come and talk and then vote. I used to watch it on CNN. You stand up and come and talk. So what happened, why they do that in the Western country, in my view, is because to track how you voted. So for instance now, if you support the state of emergency that's been declared and all the actions taken by the president, and you saw that your representative voted in favor of that, you go and vote for him in the next election. If you don't support and he voted is still in support of the president, you make sure it doesn't come back to the National Assembly.
But we know that everybody voted for it, so at least
we're
clear on this one.
Maybe we'll get the register of the 200, at least the House of Assembly, House of Reps. Let's give it to them. Let's give it to them. At least they gave us a record. So we need our correspondents to get us attendance register.
Everybody voted in support. Nobody has said I didn't vote or I wasn't there.
But at least not everybody was present. So
and the ones that were not present,
we can excuse.
They can put out a statement and say, "Well, I wasn't present there, but if I was present, I would have voted against it."
We can't hold them to that.
Well, I think naturally, if you are against something, you voice it.
If we go to court, it is what we can see on record. So the 243 or 240 that voted, if they were wrong, punish them. If they were right, support them. It's as simple as that.
Well, let's listen to Vice Admiral.
It's a hard sell.
Ibokete Ibas, who's speaking in the aftermath of him arriving River State yesterday. Just take some snippet from what he said. Take a listen.
After what I believed to be my final retirement from public service, duty has once again called. I have answered not for personal ambition, but out of an abiding commitment to the peace, stability, and prosperity of Nigeria as a whole, and more specifically, River State. My appointment comes at a difficult and consequential moment in history. The political impasse of nearly 2 years in Rivers State has paralyzed governance, desecrated democratic institutions, threatened security, and undermined the economic and social fabric of the state. It has deepened divisions among the people and cast a shadow of uncertainty over the future. These are realities we cannot afford to ignore. As a son of the Niger Delta, I'm one of you, and I recognize the weight of this moment, the expectations of the people, and the challenges that lie ahead. The uneasy calm that pervades the state is palpable, and I feel the weight of families, young and old, businesses that have made both little and huge investments in Rivers State, uncertain what the immediate future holds. Mr. President's proactive and decisive action to declare a state of emergency and my subsequent appointment is primarily to ensure stability of livelihoods for citizens and residents, restore peace, security, and stability for economic activities to continue to thrive, and avert any disruptions to the way of life of the people of Rivers State.
So lots of things played out yesterday. That's Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, the sole administrator of Rivers State, who has now been approved by the National Assembly. But we have a lot more to dissect on this issue, by the way, and it will be from a major part of the show this morning. But guys, there's this video making the rounds, said to be a video of a lawmaker empowering his constituents by gifting them motorcycle tire. At least that's what was captured by images, and you may have seen that video which has been making the rounds. So okay, I'm told that we'll get that across to you, but let's take a quick break now. When we return, we have more for you on the show. Stay with us.
Welcome back, and we're starting off with the weather, and rightly so, because of the prediction earlier on of early onset of rains in the southwest and delayed rains in the north. And it is about this time that, you know, those living in the Ikorodu areas of Lagos, and indeed in areas, you know, close to Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, that they begin to witness a flash flood. So how are they preparing, and particularly how is government preparing, you know, to ensure that these people are safe regardless of what the weather says? And you know, there's been reports that they've been asked to relocate to safer grounds. So what should be done in the future to ensure that, you know, these people can reside despite, you know, negative weather predictions? Let's have this conversation, and joining us this morning is the Commissioner for Environment in Ogun State, Mr. Ola Oresanya. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning, Mr. Oresanya. Let's start with the press briefing that your ministry held, you know, just hours ago. Outline for us those areas that will be affected by the early onset of rains prediction for the year 2025.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. And I want to appreciate the fact that you're following us, and especially on the awareness campaign that we started yesterday on the impact of flood in our community. And what we did was to start, that's part of our preparedness actually, for flood, and to make sure that the flood season is not a lamentation season. It's must be a season that we must prepare for. So it's about our preparedness, start with awareness. We need to let our people know the predictions are there, and these predictions are, the precision level is very high these days. It's no brainer again that you can know when it will rain, when it will not rain. So we need to let our people know that there's rain and there is flood. Rainy season does not necessarily mean flooding, but if you don't manage rain properly, if you don't have a hydraulic network that will tame your excess precipitation from the rainfall, then it will have flood. And the flood, yes. Can you manage flood? Yes, flood can be managed also. There are flood that must come naturally. There are flood that will come because of our unpreparedness. So those are the kind of things we did yesterday with the awareness campaign. And we were able to domesticate the national message from NIMET. NIMET gave the message for every nation, for every state in Nigeria. So every state, you are expected to go and domesticate the NIMET message in your locality. And that's exactly what we did. And yesterday, what we did also was to prepare the local government. The same information will be disseminated at local government levels for our communities on street-by-street basis. So that's what we're going through, and all about our preparedness for the rainy season. Areas that will have a flash flood, we inform them. Areas that will have coastal and river flooding, at the time they will have it, we told them. So some people, you have to stay indoors. It's a matter of living where you are staying. For some, you just have to wait for the rain to recede within 1 or 2 hours. For some people, the water will retain for a longer period. And we've been doing what we have to do to make sure that we reduce the retention time of water in floodplain zone, especially the wetlands. Wetlands are areas where flood must come naturally. They are natural terrain for flood retention. So all we need to do as a government is to make sure that we create networks that will reduce the impact of the retention during the retention period for our people. And I think that's exactly what we did yesterday to disseminate this information.
Now, Honorable Commissioner, some would say that, Lagos and Ogun State ought to have moved away from this point, particularly because we had these conversations regularly last year, and months into the intense rainfall last year, those around areas, dotting the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, talked about the delayed deployment to site of the contractor handling the project for the dredging of the Oshun River Basin. And besides that, you also informed us last year that the Ogun State government had ambitious plans for the creation of drains in different parts of Ogun State just to mitigate what we consider to be annual intense flooding of these communities. So what progress has been made as far as these two interventions is concerned?
Yes, what we did yesterday, I think if you look at the video, we started by telling our people what we've been doing the last 4 years. What we said we were going to do, did we do it? We showed everything on the documented to tell our people so that people will know that what we said we're going to do, we're doing, and so that they can believe us. We know we are conscious of the fact that we are talking to the cynical public. So we need to document what we're doing. Because drainage projects, these are back-end activities. It's not when you are doing a road construction and everybody's seeing what you are doing. Drainage you are doing at the back end. For example, the Isheri area, there was a dredging we did there, the Okparo River, okay, which is opening another tributary for Ogun River. We did it. The people in the community, they can attest to that. Okay, it was a major dredging, about 20-something kilometers we did. Now, the one you are referring to, the Ogun River Basin Authority, was supposed to complement that and take it further down, where we stop. Take it further down to the lagoon. And that's the one the Ogun River Basin is supposed to do to complement the one that we have done. Unfortunately, the contractor from Ogun River Basin is yet to move into the site because of various reasons, which I don't want to stand there to start defending their reason for not moving to site. But what we say we're going to do in Ogun State, we did. And despite the fact that the contractor there has not moved in, we are continuing. We are going to open more tributaries around that area. The one we did last year was the proof of concept. Okay, the proof of concept was that, look, let us open more tributaries to reduce the retention time of this flood in this wetland area. And exactly we got that. Last year, instead of the water retaining there for about 6 weeks annually, normally when you have this retention around the Ogun River Basin, it takes about 6 weeks. But last year was just about 2 weeks. We told them to dump more than 2 weeks last year, and it was not within 2 weeks, the water retreated back to the lagoon. So we know what we're talking about, and we're going to improve on that this year. That's what we told them. We're going to open more channels so that retention around that floodplain will continue to reduce. until when we can get to net zero retention in that place. It is possible. From what we have done so far, we know it is possible to have a net zero retention around that floodplain. If we can open more tributaries, and that we're going to do, because we have done one leg, we now believe we can do more. And the government of the state is not relenting, is going to give approval for that, for us to continue that dredging. So that's exactly what we do.
Honorable Commissioner, we may have to have that conversation about the failure of the contractor for the dredging of the Ogun River to deploy to site. It's been, I believe, nearly 1 year since the federal government awarded that contract, and it was supposed to be perhaps a permanent intervention to mitigate the continuing flood and to check the river, that comes from the Onyon Dam, I believe, that also is responsible for the flooding of these areas. What engagement is the Ministry of Environment having with the federal government to ensure that this becomes a reality? And I believe there should also be that intervention between Lagos and Ogun states, because those are the states affected by this flooding. So what is being done? The residents, I'm sure they're also demanding some form of accountability from government, despite the fact that their areas are natural retention flood sites, as you have said.
When you look at the dam management, it's against the responsibility of the channel, okay, the river channel maintenance to the River Basin Authority. So it's a duty of care when it bestow on the River Basin Authority to make sure that the downstream channels and the communities downstream are well taken care of. It's their responsibility. For you to have dammed the river, if there is no dam on the river, okay, the river will have maintained its width, it will have maintained its pathway, and people will not have been tempted to encroach on the pathway that will be dry during the dry season. The essence of the dam is to detain water for irrigation purpose, for electricity generation, and for several other activities. So the dam creation is a beautiful thing by the federal government. It's a lovely idea, and it's situated right in Ogun State. Now, the dam transverses, the Ogun River transverses the state, okay, and that's several kilometers across Ogun State, and there are communities around that area. So on our own, we have a duty to make sure that the management of that dam will not impact negatively on the communities downstream. And because there are solutions that are permanent, there are solutions that are medium term and immediate one for that place. For example, the permanent solution for that area is to dredge the entire Ogun River, redredge that river, create a new dike by the riverbank so that when you have a high tide at the lagoon and there's a release of excess water from the dam, the retention can be within a higher hydraulic network within the downstream. So that's supposed to be. And that's the responsibility of the Ogun River Basin Authority, because it was the impact of that dam that is actually affecting most of the activities. So the natural dynamics, the ecosystem and everything has been affected downstream. No doubt about it. Now, we expect the
Honorable Commissioner. Honorable Commissioner.
I can hear you clearly. Okay,
go ahead. There was some interference in the conversation, but go ahead now, sir.
Okay. Now, so what we expect is that the dam management ought to move in and continue that dredging. That dredging must be a continuous one because of siltation, vegetation that will happen. The river, when we detect, maybe the width of the river naturally, the natural width of the river probably is about 20 meters. All right, but because we dam the river, we thin it out to about 5 meters, okay, during the dry season, and even less than 5 meters. There will be natural encroachment about the riverbank. So when you now release the water, the excess water during the rainy season, when you release that, so the river wants to find its way back to the original area. And if you have not really protected that area, you have not dredged that area, there will be siltation around.
What conversations and what engagement are the Ogun and Lagos state governments having with the federal government to ensure that this dredging that you talk about happens eventually?
Well, we are not relenting. We've been engaging with them regularly, all right? And I think we have another meeting next week to make sure that the contractor will move back to site. through the Ogun River Basin Authority. But with or without that, we have a duty to care for our people in our communities. Whether the contractor moves or not, we are ready to move it, and we will not relent in moving it.
Is it an impossible task for the budgets of Lagos and Ogun State's Ministry of Environment to also provide this kind of intervention, and perhaps the creation of another dam that will also serve as an intervention to mitigate the incidents of flooding in other communities in both states? Is it an impossible task?
It's not impossible. It's not impossible. I mean, if the technical report says that's what we have to do, then that's what we have to do. And I'm sure at the government level and then at the with good engagement by the governor with the federal government, I'm sure something can be done. It's not impossible.
Almost like clockwork, year in, year out, we have these conversations. Sometimes it starts earlier than other times. This is March now. You've given the warning for already March and July. Between March and July, you've listed out some of the areas, the Shere, Akute, Wariwa, and the rest. Now, is this different, first, from the one that will come later in the year? Because there's also the one that is usually scheduled for October, November. So is this different? Will there be another sort of alert in that sense? I need to clear that for people who are listening and may think, okay, once March and June is over, we're out of the woods.
Can I hear the question clearly?
My question is, this alert that you're given for March, between March and June, is it different from the one that usually comes October, November? Yeah. So would we still definitely see another one later in the year so people know how to manage their expectations and prepare?
Yeah, definitely. There are two different seasons of flood for Ogun State. You have the flash flood, which comes in the March to July, all right? And then you have the coastal or river flooding, which comes later part of the year. That's September, October, and early November. So there are two different kinds of flood. One is caused out of a high precipitation, when you have a heavy rainfall and the water runs faster, okay, beyond the drainage network because of the heavy downpour. So that one is the flash flood, and it can be very erosive, abrasive, and the rest of it. So the other one is the coastal and the river flooding, okay, and that one comes because there's an impediment to flow into the lagoon because of high tide, definitely. The tide there's going to be rise in the seafloor level. The tidal fluctuation around that period. So there's going to be a kind of a slower movement of water. The velocity of the flow will reduce into Ogun River, and there's going to be a spill over. And the spill will go through the floodplain, the wetlands. So those people have to, it's a natural occurrence. And but all those two can be managed properly. And I think that's what we did yesterday by giving a flood alert for our people.
And now one of the issues of great concern to the people of Isheri and other communities in Lagos when this happens yearly is the release of water from the Onyo Dam. And they talk about engagements with government over the measure of release. So what can you tell us about the release of water, when it will be released, and how it will be managed such that the flooding experience in these communities also can be at a level that is manageable?
Well, for this year, we expect the Ogun River Basin to give us kind of a water release plan for the year. Normally come up with their water release plan, and I will follow through with them annually on the water release plan. So we are yet to get that notification from Ogun River Basin Development Authority. So, and I'm going to follow up with them so that we follow through with them. But basically, because last year we were following through with them almost on daily basis. This year now, what we anticipate, what we expect them to do, is to be able to release more water earlier than the time they normally release it, so that to allow the lower level, even when we have the high tide, what would come from Ogun River Basin Authority should be less. So this year we're going to work with them on when they release their water release plan. I'm sure they should make it public, and I will have a copy and follow through with them on daily basis.
Are we also thinking about alternative means to at least make the water work for us rather than against us? And people have suggested different things for electricity generation and all of that. Is that something we're thinking about? Because as I said earlier on, it's like clockwork. Year in, year out, we have these discussions. And in other climes, they look at water and they say, well, this is what we want to do with it. Let's channel it the right way. Let's really pay attention to it. Let's use it to our advantage rather than to our disadvantage. So what are you thinking in that line? And is anything being done?
Yes. At our press release, we have the representatives of the Ministry of Agric and the Agric investors who are around, because to them, the rainfall is not just about flood. It's about food security. It's about food production. And I think because we're an agrarian economy in Ogun State, our focus, honestly, is more on harnessing the best of this rainy season for food production, preparing our farmers to make sure that they get the best from this rainfall this year for food production. So our focus is more on food production than on flood, but all the same, the flood that will come due to natural or man-made problems, we also address that. So then also the floodplain also, we need to look at it also for what we call the water harvesting, so that we can have a storage of water for communities where they can use it during the dry season. The excess water that comes from this flood can be detained, can be retained locally, so that then we can harvest that water, then use it during the dry season for irrigation. So in areas where they don't have access to easy water.
Well, we must thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner for Environment. We've been talking with the Commissioner for Environment in Ogun State, Mr. Ola Oresanya. You have our best wishes, even as you continue this work to ensure that these communities, have a sane time during the rainy season, and indeed in other projects required to ensure better management of the environment. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And from here, we move to other parts of, our offering for you today, speaking of which we'll be yet again revisiting the Rivers political conversation. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's now talk about that approval by the National Assembly giving force to the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. We're being joined on the program by Ambassador God knows Igali, who is the president of the National Congress Worldwide. Ambassador, thank you so much for coming on the program. So let's talk about your immediate interpretation of what has played out, because there are so many versions of...
Can you give me a minute? I'm not... let me check my technology.
Okay. Can you hear us now, sir?
Can I check my... I'm not hearing you too well.
Okay. Have you been able to unmute so you can hear me? Okay. Maybe just say, Ambassador, God knows, in just a moment we'll come back to you. But we just want to talk about this issue of the situation in Rivers State. It's been an ongoing conversation. This is 2 years down the line and plus, and several hurdles and milestones have been taken. The latest being the fact that the decision has been made by the president and endorsed and approved by the National Assembly. Now, both chambers of the National Assembly have gotten the requirement to third majority to be able to give a stamp of approval. But there were some amendments to the proposal by the president for that state of emergency, one of which was the fact that the sole administrator, the naval boss, former naval boss, Ibas, will not be reporting when it comes to all these guidelines and all of those things. So the Federal Executive Council, the lawmakers deferred to Section 11(4) of the Constitution, that in any situation where the State Assembly cannot function, that responsibility falls on their lap to be able to guide in terms of legislation. So they made some amendment to that effect, and they also reinforced the fact that Section 305 of the Constitution did not say 6 months is sacrosanct. It can be in the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, depending on how the political gladiators are able to, agree on the path to peace. So those are some of the amendments that were made that got the votes. Okay, I understand Ambassador Godnose is back with us. Ambassador, thank you so much again for coming on the program. So I would like your quick intervention and take on this particular issue. All right, Ambassador Godnose is the national chairman of PANDEF, that's Pan-Niger Delta Forum, I think founded by the late Edwin Clark and some other elder statesmen. So maybe
and PANDEF has been, a critical stakeholder amid these conversations. We've seen them feature prominently, particularly with meetings with the president on how, a political intervention can be, brought in such that the situation can be brought under control. We know that efforts have yielded little result at that level of engagement. Talking about meetings between Mr. President, the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, River State Elders Forum, those meetings yielded little result, which has led us to where we are now with the proclamation of a state of emergency in River State. And there have been talks about the possibilities of, resorting to yet another round of litigation, because some have said that the actions of the president, are illegal as far as what the constitutional provisions are concerned. So what is the official position of PANDEF? It would be interesting to know how PANDEF will be reacting to this beyond this point. They're going to abide by, the actions taken by the executive and legislative arms of government. Are they satisfied indeed with the amendments provided by the Senate to the effect that there will be a committee that will be tasked with the mandate of providing, preferring a political solution between the warring factions in River State? Is PANDEF satisfied with that? Is that the way forward? Would he provide, would he bring peace to River State and, of course, reconciliation between the two warring factions? Those are very, very critical issues. And how does this, affect 2027 in the first place? So we would like to know what PANDEF's position is as far as that is concerned. And we hope that we also get to have that conversation with Ambassador Igali.
Absolutely. I know PANDEF has spoken time and again about this current situation. PANDEF describing the president's declaration of state of emergency as, well, equal to the president basically stabbing, the people of the Niger Delta in the back. Some sort of betrayal, saying that, well, the explosion was used as a pretext. That's a pipeline attack was used as a pretext for emergency rule. And that was released in a communique by the Board of Trustees and the Expanded National Executive Committee of PANDEF on Wednesday. So PANDEF's position has been quite clear. But with recent events, particularly at the National Assembly, it will be very in order to know how PANDEF is responding to this, particularly understanding that there are lawmakers, who are from the Niger Delta, who were there yesterday. But Jeffrey, I think we can get back to him right now and get his thoughts.
All right. Ambassador, if you can hear us now. So we wanted to get your initial thoughts as far as this issue is concerned. So we know that at the time of declaration by the president, PANDEF had reacted. Well, it's given a seal, an approval, some amendments done, but some of the contending issues were still allowed and approved. What's the take of PANDEF, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good morning. First and foremost, I would like to state that PANDEF as a body comprised of very senior citizens of this country and a law-abiding body will follow whatever is legitimate and has been decided by the government and approved by the National Assembly. Our interest on this matter has been the fact that beyond court judgments, beyond legal disputations, there's always an option and a room for peace, dialogue, and amicable resolution. We've been on this since the latter part of last year, from October last year. We've been trying to conciliate, mediate, and make peace between the two sides. And we're making some fair level of progress. I cannot say it was 100%, but there was progress. On each day, there was an improvement. When we met the president on the 11th of March, the president was briefed by a delegation, very top-level delegation of traditional rulers, former governors, former members of presiding officers of the National Assembly, and so on. And the president was briefed on the progress that has been made. And I think where we had a slight surprise was the fact that we had told the president that this is what we are doing. And the president encouraged PANDEF, said, oh, when he saw the caliber of people, I'm happy you are doing this. Tell the governor to go and obey the Supreme Court judgment. And you continue with your peace effort and get back to me on it. So I think that is where the Board of Trustees and the ESCO of PANDEF felt a little bit surprised that this effort was made, and before we could get back to the president, a state of emergency was declared. Well, now that the state of emergency has been declared, and the National Assembly has also confirmed it, for us, it is to call on the people of Rivers State to continue to be law-abiding, to be peaceful. Let us try to see, because the National Assembly has also said that there will be negotiation, there will be discussions, they will set up groups that will try to intermediate and reconciliate. So which means that there is still option for peaceful resolution. And we will encourage that peaceful resolution, because by the end of the day, we want a win-win situation for the people of Rivers State. It should be a win-win. It should not be winner takes it all. It should be the two sides coming to an amicable solution. In this, my preliminary remarks, let me conclude by saying that all conflict situations in the world, as we are seeing, for example, between in the Middle East, those are extreme cases though, and even Ukraine and Russia, negotiations, dialogue, and conference table solves it all. So let us all be open to discussion. And we believe in institutions of this country. It is not our place to start deriding them. Let us move forward and see how we can get an amicable solution to this problem that has lingered.
Well, the tone is quite different, Ambassador, I must admit, from the communique that was issued after that emergency meeting, the Board of Trustees, which I understand was signed not by only you. We had Alfred Diete Spieth, Obon Victor Attar, and others signing that statement. And in that communique, the state of emergency proclamation was vehemently rejected. In fact, it was called a betrayal of the Niger Delta people and an unprecedented assault on democracy. So what has changed now? Do you still hold that position?
No, nothing. See, listen, nothing has changed. What I would like to reiterate that it came as a surprise to us, because if a president gives you a directive, the office of the president we hold in high esteem, and we're given a directive that you go and try your best and get back to me. So it came as a surprise to us that while that process was on, while the process of trying to get the assembly members for the governor to present his budget was still on, this happened. So, you know, in matters of this nature, you have your initial reaction. When you reevaluate, you take further steps. And if you look at the end of that communique, we said PANDEF will continue to review what is happening and take further decisions. So for now, we will urge peace.
Pardon me, Ambassador. Pardon me, just a moment. So do you still consider it unconstitutional and politically motivated, as was said in that communique?
Well, the lawyers are having a field day debating on the legality and otherwise of some of these steps, and also they are discussing among themselves. So we are watching. That's why they concluded by saying that PANDEF will continue to watch the situation and will take any further legal steps in this matter. But for now, what is important is that we should all be committed to peace and see how we can move forward.
Speaking of peace, Ambassador, perhaps, one, we have to look back before you look forward yet again. And permit me to ask you to take a trip down memory lane to the president's first political intervention, by which an 8-point agreement was brokered. Many, when they look back, blame the governor of Fubara for not objecting to what seemed to be an agreement skewed against him and in favor of the other, feuding party. And some would say that some Niger Delta elders were present at that meeting, and they didn't object at that meeting, but then they went back and started setting Governor Fubara against that political intervention by Mr. President. If that was what transpired at that time, what would be different this time, giving the committee that the National Assembly has approved to provide a political intervention, to the warring parties in this Rivers political crisis? What would be different this time?
Well, I would like to reiterate again the fact that when you have conflicts of this nature, political conflicts and conflicts, similar conflicts, positions keep changing, decisions are taken, and people go back and review their decisions and keep talking. You judge until you're able to arrive at a point where all parties come to full understanding. Yes, Mr. President did very well, tried to give his own fatherly intervention at the beginning, and after they left, all the two parties in various ways tried to comply. It is totally untrue, totally unfair, and would not be correct to say that the governor reneged. No. There was a decision in that meeting that said the governor should go and withdraw the court case. And if you go through the facts, he withdrew the court case, which has now become an albatross because some subsequent judgments were based on the fact that he withdrew the court case, which was the main issue in contention. And the other parties had the case still alive, and judgment was passed against him. And so those mistakes have been made by both sides. But if you keep looking at the rear mirror, you get a crash. The attitude of PANDEF is always forward-looking, and that was why when we saw that progress was snail-paced, in October last year we constituted a committee made up of very senior Nigerians, I must say, the former governor of Akwa Ibom State, 3 former governors and 3 former leaders of the Senate, to broker peace. And we did not have to start going back to say, okay, you made this mistake, you made that mistake. It was a matter of talking towards arriving at a peaceful resolution. And what has changed is the fact that since that time, the state of emergency has been declared. Since that time, Senate of the country, which is the highest lawmaking body, and the House of Reps, making 2 of them the National Assembly, has affirmed what the President has done, and the administrator has been appointed. The governor has been told, along with his deputy and the Assembly, to step aside to give the basis for discussion, for more dialogue, to arrive at a give-and-take option. So I think we should focus more on what has happened now. If the lawyers want to continue to look at the legality, well, it's okay. It's good that the country is established on the basis of rule of law, which the President emphasized. The law must rule at all times. So we leave that to the lawyers. But for us, the initial reaction of PANDEF was the fact that we were surprised that a state of emergency was declared because we were given a charge. A presidential charge in the temporal setting in any country is the highest charge anybody can give you. When a president tells you, go and do this, you take it almost as a command. And that is what the Peace Committee was still doing when the state of emergency was declared. And that was why we reacted in the manner we reacted. And that is quite appropriate and so legitimate as it is. So going forward, for us, it is for all parties to work with whichever committee that is constituted towards discussions for peace. And we will give them all the support by encouraging the community leaders, encouraging the leaders of Rivers State and other stakeholders to work towards peace, encouraging our young people not to take the law into their hands.
Some would say that Godfatherism is at the heart of these political crises. And if you were to convene that committee today and PANDEF was invited to the table, what would PANDEF be recommending as, the way to ensuring lasting peace in the Rivers political crisis, bearing in mind that Godfatherism is a key factor that is fueling the feud?
I think that Godfatherism is a cancer. Godfatherism is an anathema to proper democratic consolidation and shouldn't be tolerated anywhere in our country in the state building process. Whether it is in Rivers, it is in any other state, we shouldn't encourage Godfatherism. But what is important now, what's before us is what they will call a fait accompli. Something has been done by the highest political office holder in the country, the chief executive of the country, the president. The next thing is that the National Assembly has concurred with him. The only option now left for any party if they want is to go to court. But for us as a body, it is we are a body that is formed to promote dialogue, to promote the reign of peace in the region, and also defending, of course, the people. So what a template has been established now. That template is that go and talk on how we can arrive at peaceful resolution of this problem. If that option was not there, PANDEF would have reacted totally differently. Yes, but the option has been created. It's what we were doing already. We were already on the verge of arriving somewhere. Let me say this, and I think Nigerians need to know. At the beginning, when PANDEF got involved, the two sides did not want to talk to each other. And finally, the committee of elders succeeded in talking to the two sides. They met people who were very close to the governor. They met with the governor himself twice. Then they also met with the very close people to the minister of the Federal Capital Territory. And the two sides agreed that, okay, let us arrange for the two principals to meet at a neutral ground. And we had already started working on that, on a place where both of them can meet face to face. I can put it out that we had approached one of the governors in the South, who is very detached from this matter, to host, and he had accepted to host. So we're looking forward to that process when we went to the president and reported this process to him. And he said, okay, let the governor obey the court judgment. You go and continue your good work. He thanked the elders. I must say also, the president was very civil, very receptive to the people that went. I don't know why the report that came out from the State House showed as if people were not properly received. Not at all. President showed a lot of difference. In fact, the president said something. I will breach protocol to come down to greet some of them when he saw the caliber of people. So it was not that bad. He said, go and continue with your peace work. I thank all of you. These elders, he called some of them by name, always been there. And so we were jolted, we were surprised. First, it was the attack on PANDEF by one of the parties, very violently. Less than 24 hours, even before people could check out from the hotels the next morning. And then the next was the declaration of state of emergency, which they were still working. But I will repeat for the umpteenth time, for us, we must go forward. Right. We must go forward at this stage.
Ambassador,
and that going forward is for all parties to work towards peace.
Ambassador,
yes,
just a moment. As we begin to wind down, it's important that in finding a path to this and resolution, what we can do is to hazard a guess as to what the issues are. You've been able to speak either directly, PANDEF now, either directly or by proxy to the warring party, if you allow me to use that word. What exactly does each party want? Because all we do is to hazard a guess, and, the parties, the principal parties in this case, they say this today, they say that tomorrow, but we can draw a line to what they are saying. Political structure, this, that, and the other. We can't hold on to anything as strongly as we should. But what have you been told by a party saying, yes, on Wiki says this is what he wants, or the governor saying this is what we want? Because it's what they want that is causing this problem.
For me, and the little that the committee had reported back to me, since I constituted the committee, the board of trustees, and I being the chairman, they report back to me, is the fact that, of course, I also interact with some of the people, is the fact that there was a close relationship between the governor and the minister of the Federal Capital Territory, who, by the way, and I must emphasize this, is a son of the Niger, bona fide son of Niger Delta, our son. And we are pleased with him, although there are disagreements on some of the aspects of he cooperating with the committee. But from what we've been told is the fact that it's just frayed the relationship. Relationship has gone par. And, you know, it's a human thing. A matter of ego, a matter of misunderstanding, wrong communication, and wrong value judgment by supporters. You know, supporters say, don't agree this way, don't agree that way. So the details are what we've been working on. And if this new work of the National Assembly, they so desire, the people from PANDEF, we deliberately made sure that there was no person from River State in that committee. Committee headed by the former governor of Akwa Ibom State, and which everybody knows is the father of modern Akwa Ibom State, the former governor of Kwara State, Colonel Pamoga, military governor, the former deputy governor of Bayelsa State, 3 former chief whips of the Senate, and 1 former leader of the House of Reps. These are people in their 70s and 80s, senior, very senior Nigerians that have served in different capacities. So if they want them to come and brief them, they will go and brief them and tell them where they've reached and tell them the naughty areas. Yet there are some naughty areas which we may not be able to discuss in this short period of this interview. But please, we want to join all people. Let us pray for River State and let us support any peaceful initiative. Lawyers are free to do what they want to do, but at the political level, we'll continue to work towards peace. We need peace in River State. It's important to the country. We need peace in River State. It's important, particularly to the Niger Delta. Port Harcourt is the capital city of the South-South, and many of our people live there. Many of us still have our homes. From Bayelsa, our houses are still in Port Harcourt. Many of us have a Port Harcourt address. So we grew up in Port Harcourt. So we need peace in Port Harcourt. And we will get there. By the grace of God, we'll get there now that it has escalated to this level.
All right, Ambassador, that's the dream and the prayers as far as this issue is concerned, because it's exhausting. Everybody just wants closure as soon as possible. Ambassador Godnos Igale is the national chairman of PANDEF, who joined us via Zoom. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, I'll bring you another leg of the conversation. Join us again.
Next on the show, we have a VIP. And I'll explain what it means. You've seen her. We're joined on the program by Crystal Sige, who's a member representing special interest groups in Kenya. She's a senator, a Republic of Kenya, award-winning musician, disability champion. And when I say VIP, I mean visually impaired person. But yeah, she's a VIP in every ramification. Good morning, Senator. You're welcome to the Morning Brief.
Morning. Thank you so much.
Well, it's good to have you on. We'll maybe talk about why you're in Nigeria, right? Because it's great to see you in Nigeria. But you always call yourself a VIP. Now you're in the Senate. You're also a musician. You've done so much. Come on, what's going on? I don't know if people ask you, does it look like God is maybe very particular about you, just packed all of it in you? But speak to us about your journey in spite of all of the challenges. How are you able to shine forth?
Wow, thank you so much. I think that when my parents named me Crystal, they had some sort of a vision of the future, because I don't know how my life has turned out so colorfully. There have been many twists and turns along the way. Like you say, my hometown is Mombasa, which is on the coast of Kenya. And I grew up just very normally in a family of 4 children. I'm the last born, I'm the baby. All my family is currently in Mombasa right now as we speak. And really normal childhood, went to primary and high school. All my schooling has been done in Mombasa, Kenya. And then I discovered when I was, of course, a kid that I really love performing arts. I love the stage, I love singing, I love speaking, I love expressing myself on a stage, which is really funny because I'm actually an introvert at heart. So when I'm not on stage, I am quite quiet. So my family always finds it quite interesting as the contrast. But also when I was a kid, I realized that I was losing my eyesight very slowly and gradually. It was in high school when I realized I can't really see the blackboard very clearly from where I was sat at my desk, and year upon year the eyesight continued to decline very, very slowly, and I didn't know why. So it was only when I went to the UK for university, was when I went for a quick checkup, as usual, which I always used to do, and they told me that you have a disease called glaucoma. After many tests, after much up and down across the country in the UK, I was given the diagnosis of glaucoma, which they told me has no cure. And actually, they also said that because I'm black African, the color of my eyes make it more aggressive in us. So they gave me a prediction that by the time I'm in my early 20s, I'll probably have lost close to all my eyesight, and I'll have to start, you know, living a new life as a VIP, a visually impaired person. Actually, that's a term that I coined myself, because I wanted to empower myself. Once I finished university and I came back home to Kenya, it was a very different life. You know, out there you can live with a disability and it's more conducive of an environment. But in Kenya, at home, or here in Africa, I'm sure you know that people with disabilities really, really struggle with all sorts of issues and stereotyping and discrimination. So when I went back home, I was like, do I just want to go home and, you know, with my sob story and people feeling bad for me that my life has now turned out this way? So I decided to call myself a VIP and empower myself. And now VIP also slots very well into a visually impaired parliamentarian. So it seems like everything works out for good.
I want to imagine the level of support or otherwise you're getting in Parliament. Tell us about that experience in itself, because we're just excited about your story. Your story is very deep and very interesting, and a lot of people who are within the space would like to hear, especially the fact that you mentioned you had to look for a way to psychologically empower yourself, and now you're here. They say the rest is history. So talk to us about the support system within the legislature.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the most important foundation of support is family and friends and the community around me, for sure. Even when I lost my eyesight, because like I told you, I wasn't born blind, right? So I've lived on both sides of this coin. I have seen and now I don't see. And the thing that has given me the most confidence, the springboard to give me sort of even the mindset to be able to say I can be a leader, is definitely from family and my close-knit community at home. Now, fast forward into Parliament, it's a lot of struggle, it's a lot of pull and push, because I'm the only visually impaired parliamentarian in both houses. We have the Senate and the National Assembly, similar to here, and I'm the only visually impaired. So out of almost 500 plus legislators, I am the only one. So it is very difficult to push for things that I require personally, like assistive technology, like bills and motions and statements and so on and so forth, to be given to me in a format that is conducive for myself. Screen readers and, you know, laptops and iPad, all those things, I have to sort of fight for them on my own. However, the more I talk, because I am somebody who is very outspoken and I'm not shy to say what I need when I need it, I think I am being listened to much more than I was at the beginning of my term. Because this is my first term, I'm a first-time legislator, and came into Parliament in 2022. So it has been, though it feels for me like it's been long and a very big push, when I look at it from a bird's eye view, I have been able to at least gain a lot of support from Parliament, especially the Speaker, the Clerk's office, all of the Secretariat, even my colleague senators. At the beginning, they used to be a little bit scared. How do we handle Senator Crystal Asige? What do we say to her? How do we speak to her? Even small things like language, it's something that people feel a bit awkward about interacting with me, or a person with disability in general. But once I showed them, like, hey, my disability is not the most interesting thing about me. I'm actually a leader, I'm a musician, I am a creative at heart. I have so much in my story that is more interesting than my visual impairment. And once that barrier was broken, the attitudinal barrier, we call it, that's when people, at least now, are more comfortable and confident. They feel like, Senator Asige is just one of us. It's just that she can't see as well as we can. But otherwise, she's articulate, she's vocal. I'm also, I've been voted one of the top performing senators for 2 years running now. And I'm one of the youngest as well. So not only am I a PWD, I'm also a youth, and I'm also representing women in the Senate. So it's a tall order, but the support is definitely there. There is still more that can be done, because every day I still find more barriers that I need to break down, because like I say, when I'm the only person, that means that I'm the only one speaking to these things. And actually my job has become twofold. It's become legislation, which is for my community and my constituents, but it's also become almost like training for Parliament. I teach them and I tell them and I talk through, hey, this is how to make this place more accessible. Because after me, whenever my term ends, whenever God says, Crystal, your time is over in Parliament, I want other PWDs to be able to come to in an environment where at least I've done my best to, you know, give them a softer landing, and they can be able to welcome more persons with disabilities in Parliament and in other positions of leadership. Because I think that my assignment from God is quite tall, in that it's not just about you, Crystal, it's about every single person that you're carrying on your shoulder. And it's about every single person that you are representing. When you speak, you're speaking for, you know, 8 million other PWDs in Kenya, and 100 million on the continent.
And you know, Senator Asige, your story is inspiring, and it seems as if there aren't enough platforms to tell it. Just listening to your speeches and some of your quotes, I'd like to take two of them. If all you see is all you see, then you don't see at all. You don't see all there is to be seen. And you've also been quoted as saying that this mountain was given to me so that others can see that it can be moved. And that's just amazing and inspiring, particularly for other VIPs like you. But I'd like you to speak to us about some of your strides in helping people with disability in Kenya. What are the achievements that you've been able to, you know, to make as far as helping them to live a meaningful life? Please share some of them with us.
Great. So currently I am the sponsor of several bills, and a flagship one of mine, I call it my baby, is the Persons with Disabilities Bill of 2023. So currently our constitution was put in place in 2010 in Kenya, and the current PWD bill is from 2003. So it's before the constitution was ratified in Kenya, so it's over 20 years old, which means that there are provisions in there that are not, you know, up to standard with progressions in disability mainstreaming as we are today. So what I did, as soon as I came into Parliament in 2022, I began to draft my own updated version of the PWD bill, Act, sorry, and to repeal the current one. So what is salient about my bill? Well, there are many things that I'm putting into place that have not been there before. For example, persons with disabilities now through this bill, which is close to ascension, by the way, will be able to enjoy more freedoms. They will be able to enjoy more of their rights, to be recognized as fully fledged human beings, basically, within the country. Even provisions such as support in healthcare, support with financing, employment, in starting small businesses of persons with disabilities. I also have provisions for caregivers and parents of people with disabilities, because you know what, I'm a VIP, and I can see how my parents and my family have struggled to be able to bring me to this place. And a lot of countries in the world, including Kenya, don't remember the people behind the person with disability. Who is the mother, the father, the uncles, the aunties, you know, the grandparents who support this person to become, you know, a meaningful citizen within the country. And so my bill, one of the provisions is that I have said that caregivers and parents of people with disabilities will be eligible for tax exemption, because it's very expensive. There are people who take their kids to weekly physiotherapies, speech therapies, all kinds of appointments with the doctor. I've gone through all of that. And so I think me being a person with disability and a VIP who is now a legislator, I can use my own experience, my own very personal experiences to say, you know what, this is what's missing. These are the gaps that I have experienced in my own life, and I want to be able to fill them with this PWD bill. And right now, both houses have passed the bill, and we are waiting just for the president's signature.
You're not just a VIP in every ramification. You also strike me as a superhero. And I don't know if anyone has ever mentioned that you remind them of the superhero Storm in the Marvel comics.
Oh my goodness, I love Storm from the X-Men. She's my favorite character.
Exactly, you just remind me of her.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. I keep, you know, playing your music in my head. I wish you could have listened. I don't know if you want to do a line for us. That's my favorite, by the way, because a lot of people don't know you sing, at least in Nigeria. So maybe let's close this segment with a line. Maybe that I wish you would have listened. You know that line, right?
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm a musician. I'm award-winning. Before I came into Parliament, that's what I was doing. I was actually a full-time musician. Yeah. So being a creative is in my blood. It's my DNA. It's my first love. And yes, the song you're talking about is called Different. It's from my new EP called Blinding Allure, because I believe that all that I do, people look at it and they say like, oh, that is something interesting about it. So I called it Blinding Allure for the reason. So Different, it's called. The chorus goes, I wish you would have listened, I wish you would have listened. This thing would have turned different if you would have listened. And I wish you would have listened, we would be somewhere different, yeah. That's one of the lines.
Thank you.
I wish I had
so
my
much.
band, I should have my guitar.
Exactly.
I would have done a proper
you know
job
what?
for you.
We're going to do a proper one sometime soon. I promise you that, as much as you're available. But thank you so much. And it's great to have you in Nigeria. Make sure you enjoy every moment of it, from the food to the people.
Absolutely.
We've been speaking with
you.
Senator Crystal Asige, member representing special interest groups in Kenya. Yes, she's a senator, award-winning musician, disability champion, artivist, VIP. Thank you for your time, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick break now. When we return, yes, we may stay in East Africa because Nigeria has a match later on today, and there's much more for you on the show, so please stay with us.
Feels like the world is trembling at your feet. Hey, brother. Feels like the world is shutting down. Life's like a garden with different seasons. This will surely pass. The victory has been won. So rise up and claim yours. And no, don't lose faith. Don't lose faith. Don't lose faith. Don't lose faith. I beg you, don't lose faith. Don't lose faith. Don't lose faith. Ooh, don't lose faith. 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 Ooh, don't lose faith.
Beautiful. Pamela Scott, live in Lagos.
Finally.
Welcome. We had a chat with you. Was it in January?
Yes.
Yeah. So now we see you in flesh and blood. So we're happy you're here, all the way from the city of Port Harcourt, right?
Yes.
So this is another version of what's going on in Port Harcourt. You know what's already happening. So I was just thinking when she was playing, when you were playing, I was just thinking to myself, in a funny way, maybe we'll just get Nyesom Wike and Fubara, the governor and his predecessor, sit down. Let's just play this as a precursor.
Right? You know how David played? And then you know what happened afterwards? They got better. Right?
Get the principles of the two warring factions to sit down. But beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
How's it been?
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And I've been seeing a lot of growth, so I'm happy. I'm happy for the growth.
So are you coping with the climate in Rivers State, with all the tension, or you just live in your own bubble?
Well, I've been here for a month, so I wasn't around for the drama.
The drama has been around for about 2 years, so it's not...
Well, I've been in my own bubble. I just... I live from the... I don't like noise, so I just try to just take away.
Fantastic. We're going to let you do a lot of playing and singing because we need it. It's been an exhausting period of political drama and all of that.
Yeah.
And how is your father, who you say was a DJ? He's a professor. How did he take that when you finally revealed it to the world?
He was just smiling. Like, he was just pure speechless. People kept calling. Your daughter said you were once a DJ. Don't mind that girl. Don't mind that.
Did he get extra gigs? Like people calling, like, can you DJ this weekend?
I don't think he knows the newer devices. I don't think he knows how to use them.
That's beautiful, and it shows how it runs in the blood, like it or not. But you know, the song you sang, "Don't Lose Faith," is very instructive. And you know, Jeffrey has talked about what's playing out in Rivers, what's playing out in the nation, and your song just came. It had that calming feel. I had to lose guard, as they say, and just dance. And I want you to, I'm not asking you to preach to people.
Okay.
It's what your song does already, but what is the inspiration behind that song, and what do you hope you will achieve in today's experience of Nigerians and maybe the world? Don't lose faith.
Yeah, so I always tell people, don't look at now, always look at the future, and use that as for more like something to hold on to, because if we have no hope, then what are we living for, you know? So I just want to remind us that the reason why you started whatever you started, the reason for it, you know, we always see the end before we always see the end. We don't always see the process, you know. We always see, when you're dreaming, you see yourself on the big stage. Then we're going to tell you that you're going to pass through this, you're going to pass through that, pass through that. So that big stage you saw in your dreams, just hold on to that. And no matter what happens in between here and there, just hold on to the don't lose faith part of it, and see you're going to see that you make it through, and you'll be so glad that you went through that journey.
That's
so
beautiful.
don't lose faith.
So there's something about you, and I must talk about that. So you are unique, but at the same time, you're just, it's what it should be, right? First, you're playing the ukulele.
Yes.
Usually you play the guitar.
Yes, the ukulele, yes.
It's a baby guitar, right? Like,
well,
like
it's big on its own. The sound is quite big.
Right, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Then your style of music is not what everybody will naturally gravitate towards, even though it has its own place in Nigeria. But you just said, you know what, this is what I want to do. You guys can go that way.
Yeah.
I'll go this way.
I'll be fine.
Then your look as well is like, I am just in your face. You can't do anything about it. So speak to us, this ensemble that you are. What is the motivation behind it? From the instrument to the style of music to the look?
Well, I started with the keyboard, but you know it's big. You have to get to power it. So I just you know what, let me just look for an instrument that no matter where you are, I can just pick it up and you can start playing. So the guitar was that. I started with the bass guitar. Then I saw this online. You know, it was first of all, what drew my attention was how cute it is and how very portable, and the sound it produces. Very small but powerful. So I quickly ordered it and taught myself from YouTube. Yeah. So he talked about me being true, or me staying on the path, is because, as I said in the first interview, I just want to live my life without any form of the rat race. I'm looking for peace, and I found it. I'm going to stay here. No matter the outcome, I'm here for peace. I'm here for peace.
So now we talk about peace, which is, I will always refer you to where you're coming from, Rivers State. We need all the peace we can get in that state. So let's talk about, you play us something. I'm sure I told you when we started off that it's going to be more music and less talk. It's a Friday, for God's sake.
Yay.
So let's just have as a relaxing moment as possible. So what will you play for us?
Okay, so this is a new song I released in January. Yes, Rest.
So it's fresh off.
Fresh.
Rest.
Thank
you very much. I needed that.
You need it, right?
We need a pillow to nap while you sing.
So this is Rest. Rest my soul and trust in the Lord. He will supply all your needs. So rest. Rest my soul and trust in the Lord. He will supply all your needs. So rest. So don't try to do things on my own while I have a Father. I'm done trying to figure out which path to go. While I have a Father, I'm done trying to do things on my own. While I have a Father, I'm done trying to figure out which path to go. While I have a Father, He will reveal all things to me. He will reveal all things to me. So take courage, my heart. Be still and know God's in control.
Fantastic, fantastic. You know, I was just listening and paying attention. It sounds to me like a spiritual therapy, all boxed in one music. And given the fact that this is a very sacred period, the holy month of Ramadan and the period of Lent, this is so perfect. So, whoa. So tell us, what's in for you for the future?
Well, I really, really want to, you know, I have this longing for children. So there's this plan of going to secondary schools, doing like a tour, guitar, more like, I don't know, it's something, one of the plans. But I know that my future has a lot to do with meeting the needs of people, like I said, musically. So people that just need to hear those words embedded in the music and get that kind of form of healing. So we're going to be doing more along those lines to touch the people. Yeah.
But is there a place we can watch you, or if I want to experience this beyond TV? Because you're in Lagos now. When there's so much traffic, there's generator sound, there's a lot of things, so we need some peace. So is there a place we can watch you?
For the social media for now. I know.
Data is involved.
That's why I'm on channel, so you would.
Right,
you
know. Now that you're in Lagos, is that something you're considering? And is it lucrative? Is Lagos helping out with this?
Okay, I was here for a month, so I'm here to meet some people, get some insights, and be inspired, just know what to do. And because I love learning, so I'm just here to just get inspired by people. That was one of the reasons I came, just to listen, hear what people have to say.
Fantastic. Pamela Scott, songwriter, singer, producer, fabulous, all in one personality. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence and your performance.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you the last leg of the conversation. Join us again in just a moment. 5 p.m. today will be game time. Nigeria against Rwanda. You know, there was a time, if we were preparing for this match, you just think it's going to be a walkover, but no. My people, we are doing a lot of permutations and calculations just to ensure that we make it to the World Cup. And Cecilia Morbe joins us, our sports correspondent. Cici, we brought out our calculators as usual.
Yeah, it's been on.
Are we winning this match? Just let me know.
Okay,
so I
yes,
can, we are. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So what will be the game plan? But really, how did we get here?
How did we get here? Yes. Okay, we had Coach Pesero. You know, this is the third coach we are having in the World Cup qualifiers. Interesting, right? And in the three coaches, we're hoping that this third one will be able to steer it back on track. Yeah. Now, how did we get here? The first two games, we couldn't win. Yeah, so that's how it all started. And then when Pesero left, we had Finidi George, couldn't also win. So after 4 games, we have just 3 points, and now we are 5th on the log, and we just have 6 teams on the table. That's Group C, and of course, Benin Republic, interestingly, that is coached by former Super Eagles coach.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, you know, they're actually topping the group.
Like a resident
on 8 points, so that's the whole thing. You know, before now, Rwanda were topping, but last night, when you have Zimbabwe and Benin Republic played, it ended 2-2. So the good thing is we are not going into this game as bottom of the group. At least Rwanda has won.
5th.
if Rwanda had won against Benin, because Rwanda were playing at home,
right.
Rwanda had won against Benin, I mean, we would have been at the bottom because we had 3 points from 4 matches. I mean, that's real.
Okay, fine. We'll feel better.
But now, okay.
So does this means that we have to win every match?
Of course,
that's the only opportunity. That's the only way. That's the only option.
Win all the matches and win all your matches, and then you're good to go, really.
So when you watch this player, so that we can catch as much information as possible. How many of them are in camp? How many
everyone. I mean, I think this is the first time in a long while that when players are invited. Victor Osimhen was one of the first players to be in camp. So it's a Monday, we have almost a full complement of the players. And Tuesday, the latest arrival happened to be Yusuf Alassam, who arrived on Wednesday, early hours of Wednesday morning. So as at the first training session, he had like 22 players already. So he had a complement of the full players. I mean, you can decide not to play Al Hassan, but then you had 22 players, the big stars, they were all there in camp. And if you look at the squad, I mean, we can actually, this is a game that we can win. Where do you start from? The last 2 African player of the year, I mean, he's from Nigeria. Victor Osimhen, Lukman is the current one. And Lukman will be playing his first game for Nigeria since he won, African player of the year. So he needs to prove himself. And Victor Osimhen has been scoring Galatasaray, I think 20 goals so far, just at the weekend, he scored a hat-trick. So, I mean, we've got the goal scorers. Now, take a look at the back. I mean, William Troost-Ekong, always solid. Of course, Olaino, I mean, he's the best right back right now in England. I mean, he plays for, you see what he's done for Nottingham Forest. So, Alex Iwobi, of course, for Fulham, we've seen what he's been doing. And even Calvin Bassey has been scoring for Fulham. So, you see, you have these players.
This is so beautiful on paper,
Yeah, it's beautiful, even on the field. I mean, you just look at the stars that we have. I mean, are you going to say that these stars cannot beat Rwanda? Yes, I understand. Yes, we haven't beaten Rwanda. In Rwanda, in the past 20 years, we played 3 matches, goalless, 1 all. But then, we know Super Eagles, when you push them to the wall, I mean, there's nowhere to go to.
Right.
So you have to, like, fight back. And all they have to do, as I've spoken, most of the analysts I've spoken to for a long while, they keep saying that all they have to do is to fight, and fight. And if they can do that, I mean, the win is there.
So this match is winnable.
It's the only team I'm like, okay, maybe we will struggle against right now will be South Africa, because all the matches we have, I mean, you're playing Benin Republic, right? You're playing Zimbabwe. You're playing Lesotho. Come on. I mean, if we cannot beat these teams, we have no business going to the World Cup, really.
Before now, when you call those names, which have just gone to sleep, because like, okay,
things have changed now. No more winners. It's 11 versus 11. But Sissy, should we judge Eric Schell from this match? Whatever comes out of it,
Precisely, he's on fire, because when he was appointed, he didn't get that support system. Usually when you get a new coach, he's a new coach, you look at the pedigree and all that. He doesn't have that. Only Mali. And we know the formation he plays, a 4-3-3 formation that he did with Mali and everything. So we are thinking, what will he bring into the Super Eagles squad? I mean, what will he bring to the table? But he knows his job is at stake. So he needs to start on a win. If we lose this game, we don't need to play the rest. Just let it go, and then we don't have to go to the World Cup.
We must not lose this game. Nigerians need this
that's what I'm saying.
now.
We can't lose this game. Yeah, we can't.
Of course, we'll be looking forward to that match, 5 p.m.
5 p.m., yes, Nigerian time.
Rwanda, so we're away on this one. But Super Eagles, we wish you the very best. We have a great team, okay? It's a sky full of stars, so we expect that we do great. Bukola, what's your prediction for tonight?
Well, what's your prediction?
My prediction is 3-0.
Thank you.
No, sorry, in favor of who, by the way?
I need to be on the ground praying, right, Sisi?
Yeah, we're going to do that, yes. Yeah. I have my rosary with me already.
Absolutely.
Why are you praying?
Praying for victory.
Precisely. Anything could go wrong, right?
Of course. Whatever works.
So, 3 points and 3-0. What's the prediction? Give me.
My prediction?
Yes.
Look, I'm looking at 10-0. You asked me.
Please,
you didn't give me any
No, there's no points.
Jeffrey, your prediction?
Just 1-0.
Thank you. I mean, just get it.
And very humble.
I don't want to be too ambitious.
Yes.
A win is what we were looking for. Cecilia Morogwe, thank you so much. As always, for coming through for us. But that's it on the program. Thanks for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.
And indeed, have a restful weekend. Thank you so much for watching. I am Bukola Koka.
Sissy, you look good on this show, by the way. That's Cecilia Morbe. I'm Kayode Okikilo. Sunrise Daily is next. That conversation with Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka will bring it to you in the coming days. So stay with us. This is Channels Television.